we're going to test you on Meraki, Kali Center, ACI, Kali SD-WAN, Webex. You know that because it's written there, right? And so these are the API documentations that you need to get very warm and comfortable and friendly with, because those are probably the ones you're going to see in the exam.
Hey everyone, I'm Quinn, he's Francois, and we're here to give you the download on Domain 3 of the CCNA Automation exam topics blueprint. And this is one where it looks to be there's a lot of exam topics. There's 9 different tasks inside of this domain, so it looks to be a lot. But what we're going to try to do here is break it down into a couple of key areas to focus on, and the rest will kind of shake itself out. And the first thing that I want to touch on personally is 3.1 is the constructed Python script that uses the Cisco SDK. This is like the up-leveling from Domain 2. So at the very beginning, we talked about how this exam really builds on itself and builds up your skills in a way that teaches you the natural progression of how to interact with APIs. And so if you think about, we're calling these APIs that have these very long URIs, right? It's slash this, slash that, slash one, slash whatever. All of that gets condensed when you move into a Python SDK. It becomes a much more natural dotted notation. You can import that if you're using some kind of IDE. You can get some autocompletes and stuff like that. So it really makes navigating those APIs a lot easier. But you can't make sense of that SDK unless you understand the APIs and things behind it. But I know that there's some other areas, Francois, that you want to touch on that are really important in this domain as well.
This domain builds on Domain 2 in multiple ways. There's the APA to SDK progression you just mentioned. There's also the fact that in Domain 2, we learned generic REST API skills. You don't have to use Cisco APIs to practice that. You can use the Chuck Norris quotes API on the internet if you want to. But now we're telling you in Domain 3 what we're actually going to test you on. We're going to test you on Meraki, Kali Center, ACI, Kali SD-WAN, Webex. You know that because it's written there, right? And so these are the API documentations that you need to get very warm and comfortable and friendly with, because those are probably the ones you're going to see in the exam.
Yeah, and the other piece that kind of chunks into this is, what you mentioned earlier with, SD-WAN and Catalyst Center and Meraki. Those are all platforms, and a lot of them, they're either cloud-based or they're on-prem, but you have a controller that you're connecting to via those APIs. The other piece of that is like the device level APIs that we can use if we want to go box by box. So you don't have something that's orchestrating all the things and you're calling the APIs to do the orchestration. These are strictly, we have 50 devices and I need to apply a change across all 50 devices using those device level APIs. The two big ways to communicate with devices is usually through NETCONF or RESTCONF. Conveniently enough, NETCONF uses XML and RESTCONF is generally based on JSON data. So going back to Domain 1, we're talking about data formats again, being able to feel comfortable with using NETCONF and XML, using RESTCONF and JSON data, understanding how to, what the URIs look like or how do we communicate with a device via NETCONF is also a pretty important skill as you start getting that larger automation if you're in a controllerless environment for whatever reason. But understanding that device level automation is also critical as part of this domain as well.
Yeah, these are really two sides of the same coin. That you can't get away with learning either platform or device. You have to learn both, because in the real world, you're going to need to decide which one to use, and there's applicability to both. So I'd like to talk briefly about resources to practice with all this, because I know one of the things is you're supposed to know about the various DevNet resources for this. Specifically for NETCONF and RESTCONF, I can think of 2 ways that I practice them. The first one is using CML Personal. And I'm saying that because we've recently released CML free. The iOS images in CML free do not support NETCONF and RESTCONF. So specifically for this skill, you're going to want CML Personal. There's a good option, a good alternative option, though, which is the DevNet Sandboxes. There's a variety of sandboxes that have iOS XE with NETCONF and RESTCONF. So those are some of the resources I go to.
Yeah, and the other thing is sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to get started, right? So when we were talking about APIs and we were using Bruno, we could generate Python code that uses those requests to make a call. We don't we don't have quite the same flexibility when we do NetConf, right? Like we can't just put something in and say, give me NetConf. So the other thing that is important here is using resources and pre-built code through something like Code Exchange. The DevNet Code Exchange provides a platform where you can search for different resources. You could hit the Code Exchange web page, search for NetConf, and it will spit you back sample codes that people have generated and put on their GitHubs that you can clone and then use, again, using those Git operations, right? So going back to domain one again, utilizing those Git operations, do a Git clone, make your code changes, and apply that against either a device sitting locally with Cisco Modeling Labs, or again, to your point, using the Cisco DevNet sandboxes as well is a great way to get started, and an inspiration or kind of that check of, oh, here's how I do it. If you're writing your own code snippets and they don't exactly work, you can always check against something that someone has published that is verified to work. So those are two really good resources. So yes, I do appreciate the call out to Cisco Modeling Labs as well, Francois.
The only thing that would come close to Bruno for NetConf Yang would be Yang Suite, as something that can generate things. And that's another skill set of its own. So yeah, I think we've covered the resources. Don't forget the Cisco Learning Network community is there. I mean, you're going to run into some things that are hard, and we've said it before, you're not alone. But this is another thing where, once again, you're going to be doing hands-on things.
Yeah, practice. This is something that you're not going to be able to memorize. The more reps you get in there, the more muscle memory. Your fingers understand it. You can see and identify and just know that that's what it is. And you get that way through the practice. So yeah, practice and leverage the resources through Cisco Learn Network.
Always be learning. Thank you, Quinn. See you all next time.